Donald Trump's political ascent baffled many seasoned observers. He disregarded the traditional rules of political engagement. He eschewed polished speeches and policy deep dives. Instead, he offered raw emotion, blunt pronouncements, and a direct line to his supporters. This unconventional approach formed the bedrock of his political strategy. It was a strategy born in business and entertainment. Trump understood the power of branding and self-promotion. He knew how to capture attention and dominate the news cycle. He recognized the public's appetite for the unconventional and bold. His mastery of social media and connection with voters formed a potent force in American politics. His approach was unorthodox, undeniably effective, and undeniably Trumpian. The Trump Playbook was simple but effective. It centered on controlling the narrative, appealing to emotion, and never backing down. He bypassed traditional media and communicated directly with voters through Twitter. He tapped into anger and frustration among those feeling ignored by the political establishment. He turned every controversy into an opportunity to solidify his image as a fighter and champion of the people. This approach mobilized his base and propelled him to victory in 2016. It deepened political divisions, eroded trust in institutions, and coarsened political discourse. The long-term impact of the Trumpian playbook on American democracy remains a subject of intense debate and scrutiny. No tool proved more valuable to Trump's political success than Twitter. He recognized its power early on, using it to bypass the traditional media gatekeepers and speak directly to the American people. His tweets, often impulsive and inflammatory, became must-see events driving news cycles and shaping public discourse. Trump's mastery of Twitter lay in his ability to tap into the platform's immediacy and raw emotional appeal. He understood the power of brevity and shock value, crafting short, punchy messages designed to elicit strong reactions. He used Twitter to attack opponents, settle scores, and promote his agenda, often bypassing traditional channels of communication. This direct line of communication, unfiltered and unvarnished, energized his base and gave him an unprecedented level of control over his message. Critics, however, decried his use of the platform, accusing him of spreading misinformation, inciting violence, and undermining democratic norms. The Twitter presidency, as it came to be known, was a double-edged sword. It amplified Trump's message and allowed him to circumvent traditional media narratives. However, it also contributed to the polarization of American politics and raised serious questions about the role of social media in a democracy. Central to Trump's success was his ability to cultivate a loyal and passionate base of supporters. He tapped into resentment and anxiety among those who felt ignored by the political establishment. Trump offered validation, a promise of change, and a champion who spoke their language. He rallied them against elites, promising to drain the swamp and restore America. His message resonated deeply, forging a powerful bond of loyalty and devotion. Controversy was not an obstacle for Donald Trump, it was oxygen. He thrived on conflict, using it to dominate the news cycle, control the narrative, and solidify his image as a political outsider, unafraid to challenge the status quo. Throughout his career, Trump had developed an uncanny ability to deflect criticism, spin negative narratives, and emerge from scandals seemingly unscathed. He instinctively understood the power of counterpunching, often responding to attacks with even more forceful and inflammatory rhetoric. His playbook for navigating controversy was simple but effective: deny, deflect, and distract. He would deny any wrongdoing, often accusing his accusers of lying or being part of a witch hunt. He would deflect attention away from damaging stories by creating new controversies or launching attacks on his opponents. And he would distract his base with promises of action on issues they cared about, such as immigration and trade. This approach, while often criticized as cynical and divisive, proved remarkably effective in insulating Trump from the political fallout that would have sunk other politicians. It allowed him to maintain the support of his base, weather a constant barrage of scandals, and continue to advance his agenda. Section 5, the Wall of Resistance, Public Perception and Opposition. Despite his electoral success, Donald Trump faced significant opposition throughout his presidency. His approval ratings remained consistently low, and he faced widespread criticism for his policies, his rhetoric, and his personal conduct. From the outset, he was a polarizing figure, viewed by many as divisive, unqualified, and unfit for the office. His opponents, both within and outside the political establishment, mobilized quickly and effectively, organizing protests, filing lawsuits, and using every available avenue to resist his agenda. The #Resist movement, as it came to be known, brought together a diverse coalition of activists, celebrities, and ordinary citizens united in their opposition to Trump and his policies. They challenged his administration on issues like immigration, healthcare, climate change, and social justice, often taking to the streets in massive demonstrations of defiance. This constant pressure from a vocal and organized opposition presented a significant challenge for the Trump administration. It hampered his ability to enact his agenda, fueled negative media coverage, and contributed to the sense of chaos and dysfunction that often surrounded his presidency. Few relationships were as fraught as the one between Donald Trump and the media. From the moment he descended the escalator at Trump Tower to announce his candidacy, he declared war on the press, labeling them the enemy of the people and accusing them of spreading fake news. Trump understood the power of the media and its ability to shape public opinion. He recognized that much of the mainstream media was hostile to him and his agenda, and he responded with a strategy of relentless attack and delegitimization. He bypassed traditional press conferences and interviews, often preferring to communicate directly with his supporters through rallies and social media. He gave preferential treatment to friendly outlets and personalities, while blacklisting journalists and news organizations he deemed unfair. This adversarial relationship with the media had a profound impact on the Trump presidency. It fueled distrust in traditional news sources, created an atmosphere of hostility and suspicion, and made it difficult to have a reasoned public conversation about important issues. The 2016 presidential election will forever be remembered as the year Donald Trump upended American politics. Defying all expectations, he captured the Republican nomination, defeated Hillary Clinton, and became the 45th president of the United States. Trump's victory was a testament to the effectiveness of his unconventional campaign strategy. He tapped into a deep vein of anger and frustration among white working-class voters who felt ignored by the political establishment and left behind by economic globalization. He ran as a political outsider, a businessman and reality TV star who promised to shake things up in Washington. He eschewed traditional campaign tactics, relying instead on massive rallies, inflammatory rhetoric, and a relentless social media presence. His message of economic nationalism, cultural conservatism, and America First patriotism resonated with a significant segment of the electorate, propelling him to a narrow but decisive victory. The 2016 election marked a turning point in American politics, ushering in an era of populism, polarization, and unpredictability. The impact of Donald Trump's political strategies on American politics is undeniable and far-reaching. He rewrote the rules of political engagement, ushering in an era of personality-driven campaigns, social media dominance, and a relentless assault on traditional norms and institutions. His success in mobilizing a loyal base of support, bypassing traditional media gatekeepers, and turning controversy into a political asset, has inspired both admiration and alarm. His tactics have been emulated by politicians around the world, contributing to the rise of populism and the erosion of democratic norms. Whether one views him as a savvy political operator or a dangerous demagogue, there is no doubt that Trump has left an indelible mark on the American political landscape. His legacy will continue to be debated and dissected for years to come, as the country grapples with the long-term consequences of his tumultuous presidency. The question of whether Donald Trump was a master strategist or a lucky beneficiary of circumstance is one that will likely be debated by historians and political scientists for generations. There is no doubt that he possessed an innate understanding of human psychology, a keen instinct for exploiting weakness, and an uncanny ability to connect with a certain segment of the electorate. His mastery of social media, his talent for self-promotion, and his willingness to break all the rules of conventional politics allowed him to achieve a level of success that few could have predicted. However, his presidency was also marked by chaos, division, and a disregard for democratic norms that ultimately undermined his effectiveness and tarnished his legacy. The verdict of history on Donald Trump's political acumen is likely to be mixed. He will be remembered as a disruptive force in American politics, a master showman who upended the political establishment and exposed the fault lines in American society. Whether his legacy will be one of triumph or tragedy, however, remains to be seen. Only time will tell the true and lasting impact of the Trumpian era on American democracy.